Okay, so you know how when you get into a relationship and you have that honeymoon weight gain phase, okay? Maybe it lasts throughout the whole course of the relationship, but when you two are separate, you know, maybe you're probably 10, 20 pounds lighter. And then when you get together, you know, you're eating ice cream together every night. You're doing popcorn nights every other night. You're, you know, eating candy bars. You're kind of feeding off of each other. But the difference is what I'm trying to help point out how this relates to what I have been speaking about as far as basically why the Black African person needs true independence in order for us to heal our minds. Going back to that scenario, when you are in this relationship, you know, you get that little weight gain and y'all are like, oh, y'all a new couple. You're a new couple. Okay, it's easier for us to be tempted by empty calories, right? It's easier for us to be tempted into a lower vibration, a lower frequency, than it is to get that other person who maybe is just a little bit lower on the vibration level than you are, maybe up here, to get them to come up to where you are, right? It's easier to be tempted, as I said, to empty calories than to be tempted by nutrition, to be tempted by that apple, to be tempted by that, you know, that bunch of spinach. It's easier to be tempted by these things. Just like, now I'm going to break this down even further. Okay. Just like it's easier when we get into relationships with our mentality, it's easier for us to be tempted into or transforming ourselves into that lower vibration. As I just said, it's easier, the empty calories, right? It's easier to not do the work than to do the work. Trying to paint this as perfectly as I can. But it's easier for us to do these things. Now somebody decided to turn on their radio and it's distracting me. I hope it's not distracting you. But it's easier for us to be tempted by the lower vibration. So when you're in a relationship, and speaking about, as I said, interracial dating, not even just interracial dating, but interracial relationships, friendships, you know, a lot of these places, a lot of these communities are predominantly white. So what does that little black African child, what do they have to do? They have to conform. They have to assimilate into what is the majority that they are around because they want to fit in. The world is about, I want to be accepted. I want to fit in. Even so much so that these little kids, these beautiful little black African children, are making jokes about their own culture. One that I recently heard was, what is black and long? What is black and long? No, we're not going to go inappropriate. We're not getting to that. No, it is the line at KFC. And that is a mild example. But this is what we are taught, especially in the Midwest. This is how we are vibrating. And this is why it can be dangerous, because we are growing up believing that we need to appease, that we need to put ourselves down because we believe that we are. As I said, that's believing that you are inferior, because if you don't believe, if you are not taught that inferiority, you're not going to make jokes about your culture. You're not going to make jokes about your ancestors. You're not going to do that. You are going to demand, just like the Spice Girls. They said, if you want to get with me, you got to get with my friends. And what I am saying is, for us now, our new phrase needs to be, as black people, as black African people, it needs to be, if you want to get with me, you have to get right with my ancestors. And I know someone's going to look at the screen and bust out laughing. Aha! You know, bust out laughing, that because you are still taught and believing. Let's let the plane go by. You are still taught and you still believe in that inferiority. You're saying, what? Why would they have to get, oh, she's crazy. That is how you begin to fight for yourself and demand self-respect for yourself, because you're saying, I'm not going to be in any relationship where I have to put my people, put my ancestors down in order to be accepted, because you're not really accepted at that point. You're not accepted anyway. We have to believe in the importance of accepting ourselves. Like me right here, I would have never gone online like this. Not even probably a year and a half ago. I mean, my hair, I'm in the lock stages where it's just completely, I mean, just look at it. You know, I'm not trying to touch it. I don't want to touch anything. I don't even want to cut my edges. I don't want to mess with anything right now because I'm trying to let my hair just do what it needs to do. I don't want to put any gel. I don't want to put, you know, and it takes a lot to be able to be confident enough to walk out into a world that tells you that you need to tame your hair, that you need to gel it down, that it's got to be slick, it's got to be out in order for you to be beautiful. It takes a lot to do this. So getting back into it, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to our mentality. It's easier for us to adapt to a lower vibrational frequency than it is to adapt to a higher one. Because as I said, take it back to the micro, which is, you know, food. It's easier to be tempted by that candy bar than it is to be tempted by that apple. That green apple, okay? If you got a candy bar over here in one hand and the apple in the other, I mean, most people are like, I think I want that candy bar. I want that candy. I want that sugar, that, you know, added sugar, not that sugar from the apple. This is why I'm trying to help people see, you know, when we get into these circumstances where we are putting ourselves down for the approval of a system called white supremacy, that's why it's dangerous for us. Because we still believe in that inferiority. And as I have been talking about when it comes to denying our African heritage, you know, the video I made is called, I think I titled the title card, I said how integration is or has caused African genocide. We are doing it ourselves now. We're doing it ourselves. In America, a lot of us who are saying that we're not African, so you are unaliving spiritually the African within. That's what you're doing. Unaliving spiritually the African within. And one thing that I want to say when it comes to locks, a lot of people, you know, and for a while, I believe I said, hey, you know, if this person is wearing locks, if they're wearing braids, you know, they accept themselves. They're going deeper with it. But just because you're wearing this style doesn't mean that you have risen out of a system of racism, white supremacy. A lot of people are doing it because they like the look. It's a hairstyle to a lot of people. It's not a spiritual thing to a lot of people to do this. They don't know how deep it is, the deeper meaning behind it. There is a responsibility when you are wearing locks. You have a responsibility. You are setting an example. And I know people don't like it when we say, oh, we can't, you know, why does one black person have to represent the whole community? You know, you are setting an example. And when you're going out here wearing locks, and laughing at your ancestors, laughing at chattel slavery, you know, something's not clicking, okay? That's what makes it dangerous, because the longer that we assimilate, the longer that we stay in this environment, the more that African within disappears, basically. And if we are here on this planet and we completely forget who the African was, that is the most dangerous place for us as black people to be, whether you believe it or not. It's the most dangerous place. So that's why I say, even if you're in a relationship with another person who is melanated, who identifies as black African American, a lot of times they're not doing that work either. They're still vibrating on that lower frequency. They're choosing the candy bar instead of choosing the apple. And we have no idea, you know, in this world, when you choose the potato chips, you choose that junk food over choosing something healthy, over choosing, you know, grains, what that does to your mind. Okay, those empty calories are blockers. It's blocking you from getting to that frequency, from getting the signal that you need to get. And that's what it does. That's why, you know, in every neighborhood, you see those markets where they got the potato chips, they got the Flamin' Hots, right? They got all these things. It's keeping us from getting to a place that we need to be mentally and spiritually. And once you start eating differently, you will feel it. Your brain will start you vibrating differently. You'll vibrate higher. So as I said, I really just wanted to make this video just to kind of expand on, there's so much with this. I mean, to talk about. It's not just one video or two videos that can really explain the work that we need to do as Black people. But there's so much, and I have been doing that work. I have more work to do. I am continuing to do the work, continuing to go out here and be comfortable with who I am and love myself. When I was a little girl, I told myself, I said, why is my skin so dark? I don't like my skin being dark. I wish it was lighter. Why? I wish I had light skin. I was saying this as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old. I hated the complexion of my skin. And I love the complexion of my skin now. I love it. And then people will sit there and they will say, well, I had a conversation with somebody, and I was comparing, Drake and Kendrick Lamar. So I just, showed two photos. I said, which one to you, just looking at these, which one to you is attractive? And of course, they say Drake. And I said, well, why is Drake attractive? Why not Kendrick Lamar? The response is that Kendrick Lamar, he looks rough. He looks rough. Well, why does he look rough? Why does he look rough and why does Drake look handsome? Why don't they both look handsome? So there's a lot to this. It really is a lot. And, you talk about freedom, you talk about Independence Day. The United States did not gain independence by remaining dependent on France. That's not what Independence Day means. But for us as Black people, we celebrate Independence Day as if it's the same for us, as if it represents freedom for us. We as Black people, sadly, are not free when we still depend on the White House. We still depend on the same government who once had chattel slavery in law to keep the 13th Amendment. We still depend on that. So we really are not free, and it's a hard pill to swallow because a lot of us want to believe that we are free. We want to believe that the powers that be have control instead of believing that we have the control. As long as we continue to operate with a defeated state of mind, then that's how that wins, because you already believe that the powers that be have the control and there's nothing that you can do. Don't think that there's nothing that you can do. Being able to spread this message and being able to uplift yourself and challenge yourself to vibrate on a higher frequency, challenging yourself to say, you know what, I'm not going to choose the candy bar, I'm going to choose the apple. I'm not going to choose to partake in that conversation that's going to put my people down. I'm not going to choose to put my own people down for the acceptance and approval of someone who identifies as white. I'm going to choose to lift myself up higher and to vibrate higher. And I understand that in order for me to do this, I might have to spend some of that time alone, even if it means spending that time alone from people in my own family who look like me, who may still be vibrating on that lower frequency. I may have to spend that time alone to get myself where I need to be. We have to understand who created the division, who created self-hatred in us, where that came from, who created race. We have to understand where this all comes from in order for us to really rise. Until we are really free, until we are independent, the Statue of Liberty does not truly represent us. We are still fighting for that freedom. We are not truly free yet until we are independent and have our own government, our own system, our own ecosystem. And in order for us to do that, we have to believe that we have the power to do this. We have to believe in our, not inferiority, but our superiority to do this. Believe that we have that and we can do it. But it's going to take us, the village, not one person, not one group. It's going to take the village, the villages coming together to make this happen. But we have to get our minds right first. Our minds have to be right first. We have to eliminate racism, white supremacy from our system and eliminate this racial hierarchy from our system. So that's all I wanted to say today. I don't want it to be too long. It was a little bit long, but, I appreciate those of you who tune in. I'm just trying to help us elevate. I'm trying to help us decolonize our minds and stop believing that we do not have the power. Know that you have the power. You have to just believe that you have the power. And we can get there.